Let's now cross live to the National Assembly, where Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is expected to make her way in, despite a directive from the Senate leadership asking her to stay away. Her insistence on resuming has stirred tension. Now, what we are looking at is Senator Natasha Uduaghan trying to gain access, as we can see, into the National Assembly. Of course, we know over the last couple of weeks there's been a lot of tension as to whether or not the court ruling on the case was binding as to her recall to the Senate. And we know that it has been established that in as much as the judge did say that her suspension was excessive, it was giving as an obiter dictum to say it was merely advisory and it was not binding on the Senate to implement that recall. Of course, we know that also came with the additional case with regards to contempt of the court orders when it spoke about Senator Natasha not speaking about this issue publicly, which again, she was supposed to apologize for and offer a 5 million naira fine. Now, so far, we know that the Senate has been very clear on this, and they've asked her not to return unless she apologizes to the Senate.
Exactly, and for those that might not be too familiar for the background of this case, it all started about 6 months ago in March of 2025, following allegations of sexual harassment made by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. She made those allegations against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and the suspension came after a heated exchange with Akpabio over seating arrangements in the chamber. We also recall that she was accused of making defamatory remarks in March 27 this year during a phone conversation allegedly between, and that claim that Akpabio was connected to some organ harvesting involving the late Inubong Omoren.
I mean, if you can listen to what's going on right now, clearly there is a dispute about letting her in. On one hand, someone believes that she's duly elected and should be allowed in to the National Assembly, but clearly she is not being allowed in. We recall the Senate spokesperson Yemi Adara Modu reiterated that there is no binding order mandating Senator Natasha's return and that she must respect the full 6-month suspension. Well, clearly Senator Natasha believes that she owes it as a duty to her people to return to the Senate. There seems to be a very, very clear miscommunication between both sides of this issue, Cynthia.
Indeed. On one hand, Federal High Court issued a judgment ordering her recall, with her legal team arguing the suspension was unconstitutional, excessive. And then the National Assembly rejects her reinstatement request, like you rightly pointed out, Kachi, insisting the July 4th court judgment did not contain a binding order mandating her recall. And despite the National Assembly's position, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan formally notified the clerk of her intention to resume legislative duties on July 22nd, 2025, which is today, and she's obviously trying to see this through. But it's clearly met with some barriers, more physical than we can see. And well, I guess we'll just have to watch how this plays out. Yeah. Hopefully things don't escalate. But
I mean, naturally, things should not escalate. This is a very clear situation, The court did find her guilty of contempt, imposing that 5 million fine, plus orders to publish apologies, conditions that, according to the Senate, remains unmet. The Senate maintains that without this payment and apology in the media, she cannot be reinstated early. Let's also understand that the Senate has also appealed the court decision, and Senator Natasha is seeking a stay of execution, meaning that the legal process is still ongoing, it's still pending. And without a final resolution, the Senate just expects her to wait for the appeal outcomes before resuming. Now, a lot of public sentiments have said the exact same thing: apologize and resume. But clearly, this fight will not be won by bravado or by forcefully enforcing one's right. You know, it's not going to work that way. We saw the almost scuttle that happened just right now, where one person said, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." You know, she's duly elected. You know, I didn't touch. You know, it's getting tense, and it doesn't need to get to this very point in time. So I think what we're seeing right now is a clear case when there is deep sentimental issues pertaining to matters of legislative processing, as we're looking at right now, where Senator Natasha feels like, we have our correspondent who I'm sure will be joining us on this conversation. Senator Natasha's case started from a sexual harassment claim, which of course she feels has not been addressed, has not been looked into, has not in any way been given any form of attention. She is trying to enforce her right by getting back into the Senate. However, Nigerians do feel that she should apologize and move on, while some feel, what is she apologizing for?
Whatever the case, I think at this point, what we need to see is some level of compromise from both sides.
Oh, we're not going to see any level of compromise.
But that would be maybe the appropriate gesture or ideal. I don't know, but one extreme to the other.
So it's two wrongs do not make it right.
Two wrongs don't make it right. But at the end of the day, maybe we need to look at the bigger picture. The people that Natasha represents, or Senator Natasha represents,
yes.
that might be what we need to focus on to see things move forward, as opposed to the individuals in question. What is the greater good? What would be the what would be the right gesture that would move the country forward? But of course, we'll just watch things unfold, because we are spectators in this matter and don't necessarily have any dog in this fight. But
But I think at the end of the day, one thing that, if at all we are going to follow anything, it will definitely be that ruling from the High Court, which we have to agree. I'm sure every legal luminary and every Nigerian would agree that it was merely advisory. It was not mandatory. The judge giving her opinion, saying that this suspension is excessive, but did not say, in fact, that she must be recalled in her judgment. But we do have Omo Bazwaye, Rice correspondent in Abuja, live at the National Assembly now, and he will give us more information as to what exactly is going on. Omo Bazwaye, how do you do? I see Natasha has come out of her car. Clearly, she was not allowed to drive in. Tell us what's going on right now.
If you're watching the video, we have Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. She just stepped down from her vehicle that was initially stopped by security operatives right in front of the National Assembly. And now she's taking a long walk all the way from the first main gate of the National Assembly, and she's going down the road towards the National Assembly complex. She has said she was going to make it here today. She had told the National Assembly that she will come here today, whatever happens. And true to her words, we have seen her. She has come. We've been waiting since almost 7 o'clock in the morning. We've waited for more than 4 hours. Now she's here, and she's taking a long trek along the road that leads you straight to the second gate. She had already beaten the first gate, and but a convoy was stopped. Then she stepped down from the convoy, and now she's making this move. I don't know. I'll give it a try to see whether she will say something to me. This is Arise News. What do you have to say?
First, I'm just glad to be alive, and I'm glad to resume today. And that's all I'll say for now, until we get there.
Wow. She says that's all she's going to say for now, and we are taking the walk with her. She's coming.
Omo Bazwaye, tell us about the women flanked around Natasha. Let's talk about the women beside her. I know she is flanked by some serious activists. Do you want to just ask them a few questions as to why they decided to come with her
I can barely
today?
hear from the noise in the background what you have asked, but I know for sure that today, what's really at stake, most people have said, is that today might be the last day that the Senate will be sitting for this particular legislative session, and that they may embark on their annual recess. And so she has, according to her lawyers, she has a court judgment she wants to effect before that happens. And part of why it's so much important for her to be here today.
Our senator be this, so we don't get another one. Our senator be this, so.
It has the full support of those that are accompanying her as she attempts to go into the National Assembly. And well, like she rightly said, she's glad to be alive, and that's all she's saying for now until she arrives there. And I'm hopeful that this will just be a very smooth walk and entrance as well.
That's Aisha Yusufu with her. And the second lady, she is quite prominent on Twitter and Instagram as an activist as well. Popular for her red scarf. I believe they call her the Edo Princess, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, and I would just like to talk about the two women with her. These are women that every time they sense any form of injustice online, they're like the female very dark man, if I'm to put it that way.
Well, I mean...
No, if we're being honest, you know, that's exactly the representation that these women have. Very open, very outspoken. They stand for what they believe in, irrespective of what anybody thinks about it. So Senator Natasha Uduaghan coming into the National Assembly today with, you know, Aisha Yusufu and the woman fondly nicknamed the Edo Princess. I can only imagine what will happen when she gets to the door. I'm hoping that it does not escalate.
I think at this point, just capturing those important women that you mentioned, Aisha Yusufu and the other popular lady, I think it's a show of support for Natasha, and it's from the picture of it, of what it exudes is women supporting women. And it might be quite historic to a large extent, depending on how things play out. But the point is, this time around, of course, we used to see it when things were initially unfolding, that she was accompanied by her husband who showed support. But now to see women that are walking with her with such great repute, it's quite symbolic that she's not alone in this fight for what she believes in. And we'll obviously see how that continues to play out. But this is quite the walk, isn't it, Kachi?
No, it is, and I think it's interesting to just see this moment happening, you know, because, again, you ask yourself, you know, is this completely necessary, you know, having to walk all the way in? Obviously, they wouldn't physically stop her by putting hands on her to say she cannot walk in, you know, physically stop her, but obviously physically stopped her car and her envoy. Well, we'll keep you updated on this story.